Hi, you guys. It's Yaz, and today we're going to talk about should you be afraid of the narcissist? Da-da. What do you think? You think you should be afraid of the narcissist? Well, we're going to get into it today. First of all, let me just say this. The first thing you need to do when you know you're dealing with a narcissist is to figure out what type of narcissist you're dealing with. Are you dealing with a covert narcissist? Are you dealing with an overt narcissist? Are you dealing with a malignant narcissist, a grandiose narcissist? What type of narcissist are you dealing with, okay? See, here's the thing with narcissists. They want to put fear into you, period, dot, end of story. Fear that you're going to be alone, fear that you'll never see your kids again. They put all these kinds of fear to cripple you. This is what the narcissist wants to do. They want to cripple you. So when you sit here and you say, well, should I be afraid of the narcissist? Let's say the narcissist threatens you, right? Should you be afraid of that narcissist? Well, what do you think? Well, I'm going to get into it, okay? Because here's what it is, all right, you guys. Narcissists are very vindictive, okay? So most of the time, you are going to have to worry. If a narcissist is really threatening you, you are going to have to take it seriously. Any kind of threat that a narcissist makes to you, you need to take seriously, all right? And a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't. A lot of people think that the narcissist is just fibbing. That, they're just running their mouth. They're just trying to scare me, this and that. And I'm talking now primarily with a malignant narcissist, because a malignant narcissist could be very, very dangerous, all right? They could inflict some kind of bodily harm onto you, all right? They could stalk you. They could send somebody after you. They're very, very dangerous because of that malignancy that runs through them, all right? They want to hurt you bad. And also, when they incur a narcissistic injury, they are not going to let it go. No narcissist is going to let it go. But depending on how narcissistic the person is, the more narcissistic the person is, the more you have to watch your back, okay? And narcissists, they could hurt you in a lot of different ways. They could hurt you by ruining your reputation. They could make you lose your job. They could key your car, damage your house, damage your property, all right? They can ruin your relationships with other people by smearing you. So there's a lot. They can get you in trouble with the law. So, yeah, when you're dealing with a narcissist, you not necessarily have to be afraid, but you have to be cautious when dealing with them, and know that when you incur a narcissistic injury on that narcissist, they will look to come back at you, okay? And it depends on how they operate, okay? Covert narcissists will operate under the radar. They'll try to hurt you maybe in other ways, maybe by, calling CPS, Child Protective Services, maybe by calling the IRS to get you in trouble with taxes, maybe by calling your employer and having them fire you, telling them you're on drugs or something like that. So you've got to be ready for it. You have got to be ready for it. You've got to know that anytime you cause a narcissistic injury, that narcissist is going to seek some kind of revenge because they're vindictive. Now, the thing that you have to keep in mind is this. That revenge may not come right away. Sometimes narcissists hold it in the back, all right? And they wait. And they could come back after you years down the line. Yeah, I had somebody in the comment when I did the reel on this say that they had somebody come back years later after somebody, all right? And that's exactly what a narcissist would do, all right? Especially a covert malignant narcissist could come back years later and try to hurt somebody, all right? So you've always got to be cautious when dealing with these narcissists, and don't ever underestimate them. Don't ever underestimate them. So many people, and especially it could become deadly if you're dealing with a malignant narcissist. They underestimate the malignant narcissist. And let's say they go to the malignant narcissist, they want a divorce, and they say something like, I'm divorcing you. And maybe they even tell the malignant narcissist off. What happens to that person a lot of times if they're dealing with somebody very, very dangerous, all right? And somebody who's narcissistic but also has antisocial behavior. What do you think happens? They could end up, dead the next day. And you see this on Dateline and 48 Hours because the malignant narcissist has, snapped because they can't deal with losing control. They can't deal with losing control. And this happens a lot too with, let's say, incels, okay? Incels. Maybe guys that can't, get women, and then they're rejected by a woman and they end up, hurting that woman. And you see this all the time on Dateline or 48 Hours. On Snapped, you see women that snap and hurt maybe the men that are in their lives. So it could go either way, male or female, all right? But the bottom line is that you've got to know the narcissist that you're dealing with. You've got to size them up. You got to look at their past and say, is this a violent person? Does this person have a violent past? And that's not always 100% an indicator as to whether this person will be violent in the future. Because take a person like Chris Watts, all right? Nobody there had a clue that this guy was capable of murdering his wife and murdering his daughters in such a gruesome way because he played to be the nice guy, the great father, right? But meanwhile, he was having a secret affair and he was losing control because he wanted to break free from his wife and be with his mistress, right? And he didn't want to do the divorce thing because of the shame. The shame. He didn't want to deal with the shame, all right? And he didn't want to have to probably pay out money and go through all that. But the point is, he hid it. He hid his malignancy, all right? And this is where people get blindsided and don't realize that they're dealing with a dangerous, dangerous person. But I always say there's got to be red flags. There had to have been red flags that people don't talk about, right? So you've got to look. Like when it comes to like being physically hurt, right? Has that person ever pushed you? Has that person ever had their hands around your neck? Has that person ever punched the wall or broke things in your place? Ding, 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 ding. Okay? That person is most likely a malignant narcissist. All right? They're taking it to the next level. They can't keep control of their emotions and feelings. This is somebody you have to be very cautious with. All right? And you don't take somebody like that on toe for toe. All right. What you do is you leave in silence and you get to a safe place. You don't play around with dangerous narcissists. All right. I'm trying to save people's lives. So many people have been murdered because they were playing around with a malignant narcissist, a dangerous narcissist, that they didn't realize the extent of what that narcissist could do. All right. So you've got to size them up, not only from their past history, if they have a dangerous record or something like that, they've always been arrested, all right, for, let's say, things like assault or domestic violence, ding, ding, red flag, or anything like that. That is somebody that most definitely you've got to be afraid of and walk lightly with and leave in silence. Okay, again, you don't take them on toe to toe because it could end up deadly for you. All right. Even a covert narcissist that could have malignant tendencies can be very, very dangerous. And people don't realize that because they always see the covert malignant narcissist could be quiet. all right? They're quiet a lot of times. They hold things in. They give you, most times, just bear with me, you guys. I have a cold and I'm stuffy, so I'm struggling. I'm still trying to get over this cold. So you could have a covert malignant narcissist, right? And they may not even show you signs directly that they could be violent, all right? They hold it all inside, the silent treatment. And then all of a sudden, when that covert malignant narcissist back is, or they're in a corner, right? They may snap out. They could snap out and hit you, all right? Or do other things. So you have to be careful with these people, all right? Because with a covert malignant narcissist, they are a smoking gun. In other words, what I mean by that is they could be stewing with anger and you may not even know it, okay? They may just run silent. And I did a reel on this about how covert narcissists show their rage. And one of the ways they show their rage, is with the silent treatment. And somebody said to me, well, no, the silent treatment is different. That's not narcissistic rage. And the point is, yes, it is with a covert narcissist. This is how they show their rage. They will go into a silent treatment. It's passive aggressive behavior. You're dealing with a covert narcissist. So they fight you with passive aggressive behavior. And when they're going into a silent treatment, it's to punish you. It's to make you suffer. They're refusing to communicate with you, okay? Because they're stewing, they're angry, they're raging underneath, they're mad at you, and this is how they pay you back, with silence, all right? So they're raging silently. Not all narcissistic rage is, yelling and screaming and overt, all right? Silent rage, that's the covert narcissist, all right? But when they're cornered, they could come out at you, all right? Especially if they have malignant tendencies, and they could be very, very dangerous. They could pretend to be your best friend and then go tell somebody to go, knock you off, okay? So you have to be careful. You have to know who you're dealing with, the cat that you're dealing with. So listen, when you cause any kind of narcissistic injury, always be ready, okay? Don't necessarily live in fear, okay? Because that narcissist wants you to live in fear. But be ready for anything that they could come back at you with, all right? If they have anything, like try to get you fired from your job, or, of course, you're going to have the smear campaign. That goes without saying, all right? Everybody gets smeared when most of the time when they leave a narcissist. So that's just something you got to ride through and just say, who cares what they say? Anything they say means shit. And if somebody wants to believe it, they're shit too, okay? So you don't deal with those people, okay? Let them talk. You don't care what those people say because those aren't your people. You only care about the people that matter, the people that got your back. And if these people want to believe them, then good riddance to them, the narcissist, and to them, all right? So bottom line is, you got to expect the smear campaign. There's nothing you could do about that. But when they cross boundaries, like try to get you fired from your job or cause any kind of harm to you or your family, that's when you got to take it to the next level and make them accountable and take them to court, okay? And I had a client that did that. And, I'm very proud of him because he had his, narcissist in court and she's going to be held accountable, all right? Because what she did was very, very wicked, all right? So the bottom line is that you always have to be prepared where your vulnerabilities are. If you told them a secret, they may go around to tell people your secret. If they can, it's like this, you guys. The narcissist is going to think of every which way to hurt you, where your vulnerabilities are, and how they can hurt you. So you've got to be ready to debunk anything that comes your way, all right? Just to protect yourself. And that's how you handle the narcissist. And like I said, if they're not that dangerous or narcissistic, you just have to kind of ride out the smear campaign, because that's what it is. You're going to be smeared. Now, if you're dealing with a narcissist and you're going through a wicked divorce and they love to try to provoke you, they may say something to you like, you'll never get the kids, or you're going to pay for this divorce, or something like that. You say nothing to that narcissist. You don't give them 1 ounce of supply. You say nothing to that narcissist. If you have to say anything, you just say, you have something to say, you speak to my lawyer. Okay? You speak to my lawyer. That's it. That's how you cut them off. All right? This way they know that they don't have access to you. They have to go through your lawyer. And if you have children, of course, you do it by text, all right? Or they do it a lot of times through an app to communicate with regards to the children. That's a whole other podcast with going through divorce. But any kind of threats that they make, you've got to take it seriously and you've got to be prepared for it. Don't ever, listen to me when I tell you, don't ever underestimate the narcissist, because they not only want to get back at you, they want you to bleed, all right? So when they incur that narcissistic injury, it's like a dagger goes through their heart, and they want to pay you back every which way they can, all right? I went through a wicked divorce, a 3-year divorce, and my narcissist, covert, and I believe could be covert malignant narcissist, had the tendency, okay? But he was never pushed to that level, but had it in him, did everything he could do to hurt me, all right? So believe me when I tell you, I've seen it all, especially when going to court, all right? So they will pull out every trick they can to try to hurt you, but it's up to you to just prepare yourself for anything that they could try. And if you have to use the police and you have to get a lawyer, then so be it, okay? If they're doing something criminal or, trying anything to try to hurt you in that way, or, violating any kind of stipulation that you may have between you, then that becomes a court issue, all right? If they're stalking you, then you take it up with the police, all right? But you have to be prepared for anything that they could do, okay? Get cameras around your house. Listen to me when I tell you. Get cameras around your house or everywhere. Cameras help, all right? And if you have to protect yourself in other ways, you do it, all right? You don't underestimate the narcissist. You do it. You be prepared for anything that could come your way. Never, ever, underestimate and say, oh, they would never do that. They would never do that. If you're dealing with a malignant narcissist, yes, they would, okay? Yes, they would. And I have a friend who didn't realize the danger of the narcissist she was dealing with, and he ended up murdering her and then shooting her and then shooting himself at her job, okay? And she had the beeper, everything, all right? But that didn't help her because she was not protected, you guys, in the sense that, you know what I'm saying, all right? So, know the beast that you're dealing with. She was dealing with a very dangerous dude who had an 18-page rap sheet. So it wasn't going to end good. So that's what I have to say for that. Should you be afraid of the narcissist? You're not going to live in fear of the narcissist your whole life, but you're going to be prepared for anything that they could pull on you, okay? Because don't let the narcissist cripple you to the point where you can't live your life either, okay? Because that's what they want you to do too. They want you to always live in fear. No, live your life, but protect yourself. This is what you got to do. Live your life, but protect yourself and cover yourself. You do what you have to do to protect yourself. If they are violating your rights, then you do what you have to do, okay? And, should you be afraid of them? Always, lean on the road of caution, okay? So when we say, should you be afraid? No, what you're doing is not living in fear, but what you're doing is just protecting yourself from anything that they could do, okay? That's what you have to do. So I hope that helps you. If it does, hit the subscribe button, share the podcast, share the video. If you're looking for confidential one-on-one phone coaching, Check out the link in the bio at askyaz.wixsite.com/thegameexposed. If you're confused, you don't know if you're dealing with a narcissist, what kind of narcissist, check out the link in the bio, okay? All my information is on my YouTube, over 7,000 videos and reels at The Game Exposed Podcast. TikTok is The Game Exposed, and Facebook and Instagram is The Game EXP123. And have a great day, you guys.